Hey friends, this is Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous, where we analyze pop culture through the lens of race or gender, and sometimes both. I'm your host, Julia Washington, and on today's show, we are revisiting a still comfy episode from last year, Practical Magic. I've edited this show down because, as many of you know, I'm a stickler for an hour-ish long show. If you want to watch the full episode uncut and live, you can watch the replay on YouTube. I'll link it in the show notes for you. But before we dive in, I wanted to share a few things with you. I'd like to do a big shout out to Kelly Peralt. She is the owner and creative mind behind Pleasant Creative Co. and has some awesome designs. You may have seen me on Instagram wearing a hat that says introvert on it. That's one of hers. She also designed our Jelly Pops book club logo. And so I've linked her shop in the show notes so you can go check her out. I also want to shout out our past guest, Tracy Stanger. She hosts a program called The Space You Want. I participated last year. She offers these things called junk drawer sessions and all kinds of other support to help you get your mind right about your business. I've also linked her in the show notes. Both of these women are members of our Patreon community, and without them, this show would be a shell. So now to get to why we are all here today. Here we go to the show. Friends, welcome to Still Comfy with Jules and Nat. This week on the show, we are discussing the 1998 classic Practical Magic. But before we dive in, let's do some introductions. I'm Julia Washington, host of Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous, where we analyze pop culture through the lens of race or gender and sometimes both.
But do
vote. Yes, also vote.
But do vote.
And I'm joined by...
I'm Natalie Katona, host of the weekly podcast, To All the Men I've Tolerated Before, your weekly look at everyday misogyny.
It sure is. And Natalie is not short of any topics because, friends, what do? Live in misogyny every
And that's
day.
why we should vote.
That's why we should vote. Okay, so let's dive in a recap real quick, or a summary real quick of what Practical Magic was about for those of us, or for those of you who weren't born in the century when you could have seen it live in the movie theater.
Or on the Superstation.
Or that. Sally and Jillian Owens, born into a magical family, have mostly avoided witchcraft themselves. But when Jillian's vicious boyfriend, Jimmy, Angel Love, dies unexpectedly, the Owens sisters give themselves a crash course in hard magic. With Detective Gary Hallett growing suspicious, the women struggle to resurrect Jimmy and unwittingly inject his corpse with an evil spirit that threatens to end their family line. So the movie opens with a flashback of Maria Owens at her own hanging in the 17th century. She is accused of being a witch because apparently that's all women are allowed to be. And even then, they're not allowed to be. And it is a voiceover. As we're watching the scene unfold, we hear Stockard Channing's voice telling the story of Maria Owens and the history of magic within the Owens family and the Owens women and the story of the curse. And then we come into present day. Sort of present day. Then we flash forward to the Owens girls to the night and then we see Jillian and Sally as little girls, and their parents are very clearly in love. And then their mother hears the sound of the beetle, because when Maria realizes that her pregnant self is not being rescued, she places what turns into a curse that any man who falls in love with an Owens woman will meet an untimely death.
She did it accidentally.
It was, I don't think she meant to curse generations
into the sky or anything. Yeah. She was just bereaved.
Yes. And it's hard. Being pregnant alone is hard.
It's hard.
Especially
and she was already
1690 something.
Yeah, she was already tried to be hanged for witchcraft. And then the whole movie's message is your manifestations come true. So be careful what you're screaming into the night.
100%. 100%. I apologize for my dog. somebody must be in their front yard doing yard work. And
They're
she
not
does not
allowed.
like that.
They're not allowed. Not during our live.
Okay, so Natalie, you know me. I like to look up reviews when I'm the one hosting our things. And I have to tell you, our resident misogynist, Roger Ebert, said practical magic is too scary for children and too childish for adults. Who was it made for? On the one hand, you have cute witches making jokes about magic potions and herbal shampoos. And on the other hand, you have a kidnapping by an abusive boyfriend who dies of an overdose, but not for long. Moldy, evil spirits rise up out of the other people's bodies, and teaspoons stir on their own. Okay, Roger.
Well, I too read a review, but I don't care about Roger Ebert. So I only read reviews by actual practicing witches.
Oh, I love that.
And I found an article that broke down a bunch of like witch media and what actually portrays witchcraft in the most respectful and true to nature self. And it was practical magic. So it was for us, Roger. It was for the witches. That's
And,
who it was for.
Honestly, he's a Pulitzer Prize winner. And I'm kind of thinking, I know the man's dead, but what movie was ever for him to
None of
review?
them. Yeah. It was for us, Roger. Too scary for children and too childish for adults. I saw this movie when I was a child. If it came out in 98, I was 10.
Yeah, I was 14 and I watched it and I don't remember being scared. And you know me.
Yeah,
I don't
and you're
like
scared.
intense shit.
Yeah. No, I texted people last night and I was like, stop allowing me to tell people that I'm too cool for a favorite movie. And like when people are like, what's your favorite movie? I'm like, it just like really depends on like the temperature and like the way that my hair is laying that day and like what I had for breakfast. I have to like read the vibe. And it's fucking practical magic. It's fucking practical magic.
Yeah.
I crafted my entire like dream adulthood around practical magic and getting to live the practical magic lifestyle.
I love that.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. I was like, I'm trying to be, because, I'm trying to, with the dog. Can you even hear her?
I can hear her, yeah. Alice Hoffman, who is the author of the book Practical Magic, and the guy who wrote The Alchemist, but I didn't read The
Paulo
Alchemist.
Coelho or whatever like that.
I read The Witch of Portobello. Together, they crafted how I practice witchcraft. They craft it. They just craft how like my spirituality, and they're the reason I left Christianity. So pro in the practical magic column.
I love that you found reviews from other like practicing like witches and covens and what have you, because that's one of the things that I think is so easy with when I was watching it, I was like, gosh, like the 90s had a lot of like witchy vibes. We had The Craft, we had Practical Magic, we had Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show and the movie, and like a bunch of other things.
Teen Witch.
I
love Teen Witch.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and so there was just a whole witchy vibe happening, and I'm not gonna say it's my favorite movie, but I definitely love this movie. I read the book too before the movie came out, and I really enjoyed the book. It's been over 20 years since I've read the book, though. So, 1997 is when I read the book. I was 13 years old.
Well, at least the book that you read when you were 13 years old about witches was Practical Magic, because my mother handed me Anne Rice's The Mayfair Witches.
Oh, Anne Rice's interesting writing.
Right. The sex I read about, to the point where in my adulthood, when I told a guy that was one of my favorite books, when he was like, what's a book I should pick up at a secondhand bookstore to get to know you? And I went, oh, I don't know. Anne Rice's Mayfair Witches. My friend scolded me. She's also a practicing like member of the Witchy Woman Club. And she was like, what did you tell him? And I was like, The Mayfair Witches. And she's like, he's going to read that. And now I want you to list all of the things he's going to think you're into. And I went, fuck. fuck, the sex in that book gets weird.
Oh man, did he ever come back to find you?
You know what? I believe that our relationship unraveled shortly thereafter.
Okay.
I like to think that practical magic just extended the Owens sisters' curse onto my love life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know,
I mean, no one's dead, but
yeah, I was
they're
just
dead to
I was
me.
like, how do I ask my next question?
No
Because
one
there's a lot of death in this movie.
no one's dead. They're just dead to me. And honestly, same thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I cried a lot this time.
did you? I
Oh, 100, like, totally. There was, like, crying about the sister relationship, crying about, like, when, Stalker Channing and Diane Weiss tell her, like, "Oh, the spell, we didn't think that
we
he'd
just
be affected by the spell. Like, we didn't think you'd actually fall in
we were just
love.
trying to help.
We were just trying to
We were just
help."
trying to get you laid, which, like, good on your great aunties for just trying to get you laid. I'm like, I love it.
Yes, but also, like, why would you assume she wouldn't fall in love? Like, that guy seems like an actual decent
I know,
human.
and, like, I think this and I think, like, every year because I watch it every year,
Mhm.
and I just, like I'm past the point where, like, I sob during it. I just, like, wistful tears during it. I'm like, "Oh," my wistful autumnal cry to Practical Magic, and, I think this year and last year was the first time where I was like, I mean, now I feel bad for her first husband.
Yes.
Just some unsuspecting dude who, like, loves produce, and he
Mhm.
gets hit by a goddamn truck.
Which also felt like, why didn't the truck try to stop?
Why was there a truck behind a bicycle marathon? Why wasn't
Correct.
the road closed off? What was happening in that
Listen, we had
small
Amgen
seaside.
come in a couple years ago, and for multiple years, and
Mhm.
streets were blocked off.
Right.
Like, even surrounding streets. Like, here's the road they're riding on, but then, like, a 3-block radius is blocked off.
Yeah. Yeah. So, none of it makes sense except for it was a
It was the
curse.
curse.
The
It's so
curse. I
sad.
believe, and I might be remembering because there was like an entire year where I was only reading Alice Hoffman, and somehow none of the Alice Hoffman that everyone else was reading.
Oh, that's funny.
I did make sure to download a bunch of her books from the library last night in a manic
Mhm.
craze, but
'Tis the
um,
season.
'tis the season, and so I believe it's the Rules of Magic, which is kind of a prequel. Now there's 2 prequels and maybe a sequel, and
Oh.
that goes into Maria's story, and what I like about
Oh.
Alice Hoffman's books is that they're like a comforting, like, book series because the witchy ones follow the exact same format. Lady gets her family cursed, and then we follow 3 generations of cursed ladies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I dig. Oh, that's interesting. The only Alice Hoffman book I've ever read is Practical Magic.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I haven't read Practical Magic, and I don't know if it's because I'm like, well, I have the movie memorized. I think I have it on audiobook. That's how I like to read books that I've seen as movies.
Yeah, I think I support that.
Yeah.
That and memoirs. I like read
Yeah.
you can tell me the stories. I don't need to read it. Just tell me the story.
Yeah.
So in this time, so you watch it every year.
I
So
watch it
is it
every year.
I was gonna say, because this time around, the things that, I'm like sobbing, right? When
Yeah.
I watched the movies in 98, I'm like, oh, this movie, oh my gosh. And then now that I have life experience behind me and lost loves and like shitty love,
Mhm.
I'm over here like,
Wistfully.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
just
you're
gonna
heartbroken, and I'm just
cry.
wistfully crying at the beauty.
Yes. And then when Aiden Quinn shows up and he's got
Mhm.
one blue eye and one green
And he can
eye.
flip cactus-shaped pancakes. And he's
Yes.
just like a good old cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
Who like, the fact that a good old cowboy from the South married a,
Well, Southwest.
Southwest, yeah, it's
Very
Arizona.
different.
The Southwest married a witchy woman who sells lotions and potions to the local, like, yahoos in
Yeah,
town.
yeah.
I love it. I so in my perfect adulthood practical magic, when I have fuck it money, I either buy that house or I have some strapping young carpenter build me that house because I'm
Mm,
eccentric and I have fuck it money, and I
mm.
only dress like Stockard Channing.
Okay, can we talk about their costuming for a
Yes.
moment? Because I was like, girls, ladies, women, I appreciate that you look like you are in the Victorian era. Is
All the
this you
time.
telling us that this is how old you are? Or is this you just having a nod to the fact that you live in a clearly Victorian built home and that you have special magic powers?
What I really appreciate about the movie is that you subtly get like all of the forms of witchy woman. So you have like
Mhm.
Stalker Channing, who is very much like gothic, Victorian,
Yes.
eccentric auntie witch, the dream. Then you have Diane Beast, who is like cottage core, herbal, like garden witchy. Then you have like Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, Sally and Jilly, who are just like, we're just trying to like blend witches, like broom closet witches. And then you go to the lotions and potions shop, and there's a practitioner who is like modern gothic witchy, who's just like out and proud and just like swathed in black like lace.
Yeah.
Oh, she yelling. She yelling at that dog.
Well, she's just getting a little out of control.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. But
Sorry,
yeah,
listeners.
that's what I really appreciate about the movie is that, and I think that's what I picked up the most during this watch around, which is like how they really do somehow focus and yet not focus on the fact that they are everyday witches living in an everyday lifestyle.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, you know what else kind of was I felt was kind of cool?
Mhm.
Not cool, that's the wrong word. The sister dynamics.
Right.
So, like, with Jillian and Sally, Sally's clearly the very talented one when it like, she's naturally gifted when it comes to witchcraft, and the
Mhm.
aunts tell her that, like, "Oh, you're so good, da, da, da." Even her daughters call her out, like, "You have so much
Yeah.
power and you don't use it." And then Jillian's just kinda like, "Well, what am I good for?" And they're like, "You'll find out, dear." And I was like, if that isn't 100% a sister like, a sister setup where you're just
Yeah.
like but what I loved about it is that how it they don't let that become a wedge between them, where in other movies, like when we did A League of Their Own, that's a wedge between Kit
Mhm.
and Dottie, like, it creates tension. Even though Dottie's still, like, down for her sister, there's still a wedge and Kit still has a chip on her shoulder, but with Jillian and Sally, Jillian doesn't have a chip on her shoulder. She's like, "Fuck this shit. I'll get out when I wanna when I'm ready to get out, and I'll go live
Yeah.
my life." And then Sally's like, "Cool, I got you. I miss you terribly, but we're in it together." Proof positive when Jillian calls and is like, "My boyfriend's beating me," and Sally's like, "I got you. Where are you? I'll come get you." Like, there's no issue. Like, they're so tight and close, and I love that because we so often get, "This sister's clearly the superior one," and then the little sister's chipped about it.
Mhm.
Or the
And it's
other sister's chipped about it.
And it's not even like that they're estranged and then the Jimmy drama of it all brings them back together. Like, they've clearly kept in contact,
Mhm.
and they've been writing letters the entire time and getting phone calls when they can.
Yep.
And then, like, their blood magic also, like, hints them off as to what the other one is doing. And you're right, like, it's one of those things where it's like, Jilly you said did you tell me that the book focuses more on Jilly than it does Sally?
I don't remember.
Okay, cool. I've heard that the book focuses more on Julie's past. And it's not that Julie isn't talented. I find her magic to just be more volatile, like her
Mhm.
volatile spirit.
Mhm.
So, like, that plays a role in it too, where like Sally is the calm and steady one, and therefore her magic, even though it's dimmed because she's out of practice, will come back because she is calm and steady. And then we've
Right.
got Jill over here who's a little wild and a little volatile and poisons her boyfriends. By the way, I think every woman should just like have a list of things that you can keep in your kitchen that will slowly poison someone that needs it. And that's my platform. I believe I said that during Thelma and Louise too. I go, I think we should just murder if we need to.
I'm just very concerned that this will be used as evidence one day if somebody tries to accuse you of something.
Not if I'm good at it.
Oh my
Not if I take my own advice.
Oh my
But the fact
gosh.
that, like and the fact that she didn't think that, like, overdosing on belladonna would eventually kill her boyfriend, I'm like, "Oh, Jilly, you just." She's like, "I just needed to sleep, and I needed him to not be on top of me." And I'm like, "Been
Yeah.
there."
Yeah.
Because the intensity of Jimmy Angelo is a very, like, in it's an intensity that I've fallen right into where it's like,
Mhm.
"You feel what about me? You're gonna let our love destroy the stars?" And I'm like, "Ooh, dangerous, but also hot."
Mm.
Like,
More like murderous and also hot.
I mean, honestly, like but you get, like especially when you have, like, a wild, eccentric, like, volatile nature like Jilly does, like, that is the perfect cocaine guy for you, where you're like,
Mm.
"I'm addicted to him, he's addicted to me, I'm addicted to him,"
Oh
and
my
I'm
gosh.
and they're I thought I remember Jilly doing drugs, but I might have mixed up like a scene of Practical Magic with like a scene of Rockstar or something where I'm like, why isn't Jilly doing coke? Isn't that why we go and get her?
Oh. I don't know. I mean, I just remember her being a smoker in the movie. Was she a smoker in the
Yeah, she was a
movie? Yeah.
smoker in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I didn't forget about the twist about how, like, Jimmy was super abusive and, patterns of behavior with women. I think one of the reasons why I cried also about this film again is how you could literally drop it into 2022 and it still works because of the themes, because of the abuse that's happening towards women. The percentage, the statistics on abuse towards women haven't improved. They're still
Yeah.
really high. In 30 years, it's nothing's changed. So taking this movie and dropping it into 2022, you're just like, fuck, this is still very accurate. And that's also hard.
Right. And you can't always trust that your sister is going to fall in love with the cop who's like trying to investigate your boyfriend's murder that you poisoned.
Yeah.
And then like it's going to work out. Most of the time,
Right.
everyone fall like the lengths that we go to like avenge the murder of a bad man. I'm like, why? Like so many police resources and we just care that he's gone.
So I actually took it as he was investigating all of the women, the murder of all of the
Yeah.
women.
And I
Okay.
think he was like hired by their families.
And then the twist is, oh, he's now dead.
Yeah, he's dead. To which I would have gone, and good day, ladies. Thank you for doing my job, and like walked away. Like there needs to be more of that. Like, oh, you took a bad man off of
Mhm.
the street. Good day, ladies. Goodbye.
Yeah, because he's not subjectively bad, he's objectively bad.
Right.
Like,
He's a
the
bad man.
physical abuse that he's bestowed upon, uh, Jillian, and you're just like, "Oh my god."
He
Like,
brands women.
yes! This is serial killer shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like serial killer shit, but light, because this movie is PG-13 for
With a
1998.
banging soundtrack.
Yes.
Because we got Stevie Nicks and we have Joni Mitchell, and then all of a sudden we have some like Faith Hill thrown in there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I love this vibe.
It's amazing. Speaking of, the New York Times original review said, "It's Barbie joins a coven time as Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman shake their long, flossy hair and play witch sisters with otherworldly decorative qualities."
So here's the thing about
Barbie
all the
meets coven.
here's my
What?
thing about these reviews that are clearly written by men.
Men.
When we were too scary and too powerful, you burned us.
Yes.
When we were too scary and too powerful, you
Oh,
literally
Natalie, that was written by Janet Maslin.
okay, well, she is a traitor. Okay. I can't help it. Some women are bad and they don't deserve my support.
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
know more about her except for she's a traitor. And so when we were scary ladies who were powerful, we were bad ladies and you burned us and you hanged us. But then when we're pretty Sandra Bullock and we're just literally trying to run a botanicals store, then we're not real witches too. So it's like,
Mhm.
which is it, patriarchy? Which is it?
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways.
I didn't get Barbie vibes
No.
at all.
No.
None.
I'm so angry.
I can't believe it.
Well, and here's the thing too, like, why do we hate a soft, pretty movie? Like, what about this movie was too pretty that we didn't actually, like, get a lot out of it?
I don't know because it has all the themes I'm looking for in a movie, or not all the themes, but it has a lot of themes that I think hold really well and are long lasting. And I think that even though the film was 1998, you don't really get a 98 vibe. I
No.
don't know if that's because I lived in 1998, so it feels real. You know what I mean? But it
Well,
doesn't feel dated to me because you do have the witchy aunties who are dressed in an air, you know what I mean? Because there's
yeah.
just so much about the style that still works
And
regardless of decade.
I do believe that the Owens women lived for a long, long time.
Mm,
I believe that was also part of it.
except for their mom who died of a broken heart.
Right. Women I believe in a lot of folklore, witchy women tend to live for a long, long time, which I
I believe
believe is
it.
where the, like, "we eat children to survive," like,
Comes from.
lore comes from.
Yeah.
No, we just got good herbs in our skincare. Try it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, olive oil also
Yeah,
in and on.
just in and on.
Mhm.
Just in and on.
In and on.
I love that also Sally is referred to as in the broom closet, which is a very real thing.
Mhm.
However, is like you can't be on in the broom closet and also the like local apothecary Sally with your kids screaming at you that you have immense power in the street.
You're
Like,
right. Evan Rachel Wood. How about
ah,
how I didn't realize that was her until this time, because my time gap between seeing Practical Magic and then the next time I see Evan Rachel Wood is probably 10 years.
yeah, because she's a full ass adult by the next time we see her, right? And like
Yeah, she's like, I
strawberry
think
Fi-
she's your age.
strawberry universe. No, what's
Across
that?
the universe.
Across the universe.
But when
Strawberry
did that
fields
come
forever,
out?
man.
2010?
Another great soundtrack.
Oh,
Do you
100%.
remember when movies had great
Oh,
soundtracks?
yeah.
Bodies, Bodies, Bodies has a great soundtrack, and it's, like, because it's all up here the entire time so you can club.
Yeah, 2007. So 9 years.
Yeah.
But the point is the same. She's a grown ass adult by the time this comes around. I didn't realize how much I didn't realize she had a relationship with Marilyn Manson.
Oh, yeah, they almost married people?
I don't know, but she procreated with the kid from Billy Elliot. What's his name?
I don't know.
Oh, I love Billy
She
Elliot.
procreated?
Yeah, I don't remember if they were actually married, but they share a child. And then 13, that's right, she was in
Oh, that's
13,
right,
that
I
was in
love 13.
2003. But then, like, her what is his name? He's married to Mara Rooney.
Oh,
No,
Mara
that's
Rooney.
that's that's the sister. Rooney Mara's the sister. What's the other one called? Shit. This is gonna bother me. This is not what we're here for, but now I've
No.
fallen down. Jamie Bell.
I still like, you said his name, and I shoulda gone, "Aha!" And I'm like,
And
"No,
you
I
don't
don't
know.
care about white men."
He's British, but same thing.
The
He
original white?
I know, the original white. So they were married, had child, then she enters a relationship with Marilyn Manson. It's abusive, as we've learned
Right,
Marilyn
yeah.
Manson relationships are. So she flees essentially with said child. So then Jamie Bell's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, where are you taking my kid?" And she was citing, like, "We have to be safe. I'm sorry, this includes me saving the child as well." And it was like a whole thing. I don't know if their custody stuff ever got resolved, but then he married or is in relationship with, because they just had a child, Kate Mara.
Mm. I was under the impression that Marilyn Manson groomed her when she was, like, 16. I didn't know she was a full-ass mom.
Um,
You can still get groomed as an adult, I'm
yeah,
convinced.
I was gonna say I feel like you can still get groomed because that was in 2000. Wait, maybe it was in the relationship was before? I just remember, I'm going to have to fact check. I just remember that she was like, took off to another state in the Middle West somewhere with said child she had with Jamie Bell, and basically like told the court it's for the safety of myself and my child because Brian is dangerous. So I don't know the timeline of her relationships. I just know that she and Jamie Bell were like 10 years ago, probably married.
Mm.
None of this matters. Let's get back to
The
little Evan
original
Rachel Wood
wife.
playing Kylie.
Which the little girls do such a good job. Even,
Yeah.
like, the original little girls that are playing, like, Sally and Jilly, like, such
Mhm.
a good job.
Yeah.
Such a wonderful job.
The whole movie is just really well done, to the point where you're just like, why can't more movies be femme forward?
Why? Uh, because they'd burn us and they'd hang us is
Oh,
what would
Robin, I don't know who this person is. I was looking up who wrote the screenplay. Bo, that's a dude. I can't pronounce his name. I'm not going to try. And that's a woman. Okay. But the Griffin Dune is the director. That's a dude. But they did it such a good job, I think. It's very rare, I feel like, a man can take a female's story, a female femme
maybe
positive story, and actually make it
maybe
good.
Hoffman had a really heavy hand in it.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't
Oh,
know, I wasn't there.
I wasn't there either.
Maybe Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman just took everything in their own hands. Maybe Stalker Channing was like, "I've got this."
Yeah. I
And
do
Stalker
remember.
Channing does have this.
Yeah, she's so good. Oh my god. Everything she's in, she's amazing. I do remember during the press junket that, the scene when they're like, the Jimmy Buffett song comes on
Yeah.
and they're in the margaritas or whatever.
Mm.
I remember it was either Nicole Kidman or Sandra Bullock. It might have been Nicole Kidman. Like somebody from Entertainment Tonight, it might have been John Tesh, was
Mhm.
like, we heard a rumor that you guys were really actually drinking during that scene. Is it true? And they were like, yeah.
Yeah. Because how else are you gonna get tequila loose unless there is tequila involved? Like,
Uh-huh.
that's what makes that scene so great is that they are all different variations of tequila loose.
Yes.
And then I think this was the first time that I made the so at first I thought that like the tequila ritual, the midnight margaritas was literally just a way to infuse joy back into your home or
Mm.
joy to make sure that joy carries into your home because it's dancing, it's drinking, it's having a good time, and then they're making jokes off of one another.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was the first time I made the connection that it was Jimmy's tequila and that was actually making them bitter towards one another.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because the shit that they say, and they're like, "I don't even know why I'm saying that." Like, this is
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a really good observation that I also didn't take into consideration either.
Well,
Because then
because
when they see the bottle and she's like, where did this, it was on the porch,
porch. Well, because the thing about the Owens women who and it carries throughout the entire movie is because of the Maria curse, their
Mhm.
entire existence has been like around the idea that feelings and words matter, and
Yeah.
therefore they're always choosing their words carefully. Because once you say it, you can't take the intention back, which is why they have the whole scene where she's like, "Get your finger down," and she screams, "I hope you get chickenpox," and she's screaming at her kid in the middle of the street, "We don't hex people, get into the store."
And then we later learn that child does
That
get
child get
chickenpox.
yeah, that child
Mhm.
gets well, and one of the women is like, I'm not saying that they killed this Jimmy guy. I'm saying that, like, maybe they shook his hand and then he
Yeah.
died." Like, shit like that happens to them.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, the whole weaving of the, like, words matter and your intentions matter, and the fact that the curse didn't come from an outside source, it literally came from the sorrow and the grief and the anger that
Mhm.
Maria just continuously built up into herself until it spread to her baby and down
Right.
generations.
Right. That's a really good point. I mean, it's a generational trauma
Mhm.
in which form?
And it's witchy generational
It's
trauma.
witchy generational
I
trauma.
also love when when she's like, "Give me something white to write on his chest," and it's whipped cream, and I was like, "Yes, that is exactly what you do as a practicing witch in the '90s, the 2022s, anytime,
Yeah.
is you look around your kitchen and you're like, 'What did it call for?' Black salt? Fuck. I don't know, I'll draw some, like, charcoal on there, and then I'll put the salt on it, and that counts."
That
That
totally
I'm not
counts.
making black salt. Do you know how long that takes? And I'm not buying it on Etsy. Do you know how much that costs to ship? Okay, I can't have all of the things at all the time, and that is very much how I run my practice, where I'm like, "What did this call for? And you know what? We'll just say it 3 times like it's in there, like the energy and the essence is in there.
Mhm.
Imitation vanilla from the kitchen."
I will say too that in that scene when they're like, okay, this is, what we chant over and over again, and they're sort of fumbling through it. And then when they
Yeah.
sync up and they start saying it, and they're just sort of in this really great, like, vibrational
Mhm.
moment, repeating the phrase over and over and over again, there's something like really compelling about that, because it's like, we at that point, it's like they've always been in sync to an extent, right? They've always been really close. We have established that already, but in this moment they're not in sync because they don't agree on what to do about Jimmy.
Mhm.
And like Sandra Bullock's character's kicking and screaming going into it, but then they click and it happens and it
Yeah.
works, and you're just like, damn, that's powerful.
Well, and it's like they did it without consulting the aunties, and it's like,
Mhm.
"No, you always consult your aunties." Like, that's
Mhm.
why we have aunties. I also appreciate I paid attention to the grimoires this go around too, and I love that Little Sally's is literally a junk journal. I'm like, "Oh," because I do that too, like, you just collage, and then you,
Yeah.
like, write down your little protection jar, and it's, like, next to a really awesome hot shot of J.Lo. You're like, "J.Lo, protect me.
Please, JLo, or protect
Please,
yourself
J.Lo."
because of her recent marriage.
Oh, yeah, she's back to Ben Affleck, which
Mhm.
is
Mm.
unfortunate.
Uh,
But it's also what's really moving about the end of the movie, where all of the neighborhood women who have really done the most in
mhm.
perpetuating the outsider feel of the Owens women and, like, keeping them separate and keeping them ostracized. They get one phone call on a phone tree, and I wrote down, I was like, "Women don't always understand witchcraft in the concept of just women harnessing their power and then using it, or women coming together as a group and together obtaining a goal." I go, "But they do understand when you pick up the phone and say, 'A man is hurting my sister, we need help.'" Like, that in itself is a power that women across the board, very rarely do you get a phone call like, "I need help getting my sister, a man is hurting her," and some lady is like, "Nah, like, the car's been acting up, I don't know."
Right. Right. And again, that leans into the femme forward narrative and themes that this movie holds, especially because they didn't want Sally to be at the top of the phone tree,
Mhm.
and it just magically happens anyway, but yet they still have the willingness to support and be a part of that. And
Well,
it,
and
and I appreciate how the one chick, she's like, Sally's like, "Oh, and Sarah, so I'm surprised you're here." She's like, "Well, I've always wanted to know what the inside of your house looks like."
that's what gets me about the end of the movie is, like, the playful curiosity that women will embrace if you tell them that you're practicing, and
Mhm.
they're like, "Will you?" Like, I have often been scolded because I have shown up to an event without my tarot, and they're like, "You
Mm.
didn't bring them?" And I'm like, "Well, they're not really a party trick." I was like, "You
Right.
have to ask me to bring them." I go, "Because if I do bring them and someone is super churchy or super, like, indifferent or super negative towards this practice, A, it's not gonna work, 'cause
Right.
they're interrupting the energy flow, and B, I don't wanna be disrespectful at your bachelorette party because we didn't know that someone was gonna, like, go home in tears about it." It's like when I'm
Right.
forced to pray before meals and I just sit there and I'm like, "Okay, white Jesus." I find it very hard to pray to a deity that we have made male.
Mm. Yeah, so there are times when I'm like, when we're around religious family and my son's like doesn't really know what to do, part of me is like, I'm not embarrassed. I'm equal parts proud and part equal parts like, oh, maybe I should have like figured out a way to be respectful of this situation. But being, leaning back into the I don't give a shit because that shit was traumatic for me. So I'm not doing that to my kid. It
Right.
always wins.
So yeah, like I thought that that was brilliantly done too in that last scene where all of the women were just like so giddy to be a part of it. Like, oh, we're going to
Mhm.
get to do the thing that we've been like scared of the entire time.
And
And
partly left out on too,
yeah, and
Mhm.
it's a really great allegory for like how society has made women scared of their own power too.
Mhm.
Because when women are powerful, women get punished.
Yeah.
So here you are, you're a basic white lady in your seaside town. You're just trying to get your kid off to fourth grade. And here are these eccentric as fuck botanical lotions and potions shop owning women who literally probably in your mind get to live the exact life that you're like, if only I hadn't given my soul to the conventional ways of the 90s, maybe
Mm.
I too could have an awesome hat like Stockard Channing.
Mhm. Yep, because Dr. Channing's the best.
She's the best. I
She
can't
really
wait
is.
to have
You
fuck it money. I dress not today. I'm in a sweatshirt today.
Mhm.
But there are moments where I'm like, I've dressed full practical magic for my day. Like someone's going to take one look at me and go, "These a witch," and then like I'm getting burned at the stake because I live in the Midwest. It's happening today.
Oh my gosh. Do you think you'll read the book ever?
Listen, it's on my damn phone.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you're gonna read it.
I know. Well, and chalk that up to ADHD and hyperfocus. Currently, I'm only reading things that my book club picks. So, um, I have always made it a goal to read the book, and I don't know why I don't. And now this might be the year because I am craving more context about what Jilly did before Jimmy.
Mhm.
Because it looked like she was having an okay of a time.
Yeah, well, I mean, she was definitely partying and having fun,
But she
and
wasn't like strung out Jenny from Forrest Gump partying.
that's true. So yeah, that's true, but I wonder see, now I should reread the book because I feel like there was a point
Make
where
it part of your book club, and then it's homework for me to do
there
it.
there you go. Because there's a part of me that vaguely remembers that Jillian was in, like, a lot more like, some kind of trouble before Jimmy shows up,
Mhm.
but I don't know if that's me inserting from something else or if that was from the book.
Well, and I think that Jilly also represents this other class of otherly women where it's like, oh my God, she's just on the road and by herself and sleeping with men and drinking and going to parties and kind of just ending up where the wind takes her. She's very much like Taylor in One Tree Hill season 2 that we'll be covering at 10, but where it's like, we we don't punish these women in our brains, but because we're so closed off to that like idea of like, so you're literally just like living a nomadic lifestyle based on your like gut intuition and like sexual drive and all of it that we're like, Jilly, stop it. Come home. You're partying too much. Meet a man that the Owens women's curse can kill.
Right? You
Because
too can
Sally did
hear
it
the beetle
right.
sound.
Yeah, Sally did everything right, which that scene where she's, like, pulling up the floorboards is so heartbreaking because
Yeah.
she's the one who set out to never fall in love because she knew it was a death sentence, and then, like, the aunts did some trickery and some
They really
fuckery
did. They
to get
really
her
did.
laid,
Mhm.
which, best intentions, worst
Yeah.
carry out,
Yeah.
best
It's just
intentions.
maybe cast a spell with somebody who's not as cute and adorable.
Right, well, and when
I mean, I
Jill
get it because you don't want your niece to be with, like, some ogre,
right. You want them to be able to read.
and be, like, a good partner while
Kind.
they're a good partner. See, this
Yeah,
is just see, I would have ended up doing I would have been
yeah.
shit, she's gonna fall in love. Like, it should have been obvious to them when they
But
chose
then
him.
but also the Owens women, I think a lot of Alice Hoffman's books follow the Owens line. The Owens
Oh.
women have to reproduce in order for the line to sustain, and
Mhm.
that's also, like, a huge part of their story. So, like, yeah, we kinda, like, fall in love and then those dudes take off or they're dead, but how else is the line of very powerful witches supposed to go on?
Yeah. Honestly, it's not. I mean, if we had a better societal structure system, it's really not that bad of an idea to be the only parent in a situation. We just
Absolutely
need to
not.
do better, like childcare and equity for paying women and all
And
those
all of
other
the
things.
other
Because
things.
emotionally or like developmentally, when you're raising the human, not having the negative impacts of uh um an an interesting man is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. And the answer right there to step in. So many of the movies of the 90s, like, carbon copy what I believe my family would do in a situation where it's like, "Oh, she done got widowed, and now it's like, you're just gonna come home and live
Mhm.
with us." And then when, like, Jilly says, "We're gonna grow old together as 2 biddies with our cats. We're gonna live just like the ants." I'm like, "It's all I've ever wanted."
Yeah.
Every time,
Yeah.
every time one of my friends is pissed off at their husbands, I secretly go, "You could divorce him today. We could move into the woods. We could live our best practical magic coven lifestyle in the woods, away from them all, and we could
Right.
just be hags together." And doesn't that sound lovely? To just throw convention to the sea and just become hags together that, like, dig up, like, murdered guy roses in the yard. It sounds amazing. And I've almost gotten a couple they're like, "I do agree that that would be really fun." I'm like, "Yeah." I go, "You could divorce him. You you could divorce him. It's just a piece of paper. Pieces of paper get lost."
Well, and it's, registered with a government entity. It'd have to get lost there
You
too.
have to believe in the government to care. You have to believe. And everything's fake unless if you give no value and no belief to something, it's fake.
Also true. Excuse me for yawning. I apologize. That was gross. I apologize for the yawn. Um. Oh my god, what was my question? You said something that was like, oh, that brings me to another question, and I forgot what it is. Oh, it's not a question, it's a statement. I really feel like the 90s, what we got a lot of in the 90s, or at least from where my vantage point is a lot of that femme forward feel in films, right? So like we've covered A League of Their Own and Thelma and Louise on this show, and those have very strong female themes, very strong, powerful women. Practical Magic also falls in line with that as well. And then, there's other films too that I can't really come to mind right now, and I should have made the list when I was thinking about it earlier today, but it really, like, we don't see that level of like female power that isn't a message being smacked over the head to the
Yes.
audience.
And to the point where it's like, I don't know how I want to state this. There was an ease and a prettiness. I don't want to say prettiness, but like
There's a good aesthetic that we appreciate.
there was a sugar going down with the medicine when it came to what practical magic was trying to say about women and what happens to their power.
Yeah.
Even with Thelma and Louise, they made sure that there was enough fucking comedy and that Gina Davis always looked gorgeous, that there
Yeah.
was sugar with the medicine coming down.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't know if they've thought we've outgrown the sugar, but they're like, y'all are raped and you're harassed in the workforce and you have to be fighting that all the time and you cannot cry and you cannot fall in love and you cannot have feelings for it because now you have to be the empowered woman.
So I wonder if the glamorization, it's not glamour, that's the wrong word, but I
Mhm.
wonder if the beautification
Yeah.
of how the 90s presented it is this is the backlash to it. Now we just
Yeah.
want gritty, and now we just want
No,
this.
we just want gritty.
But I also, like, I struggle with grit. Like, yes, give me the reality and the horrors of what's our history, because hello. But at the same time, like, certain groupings of people, when you've grown up with the constant reminder in your daily life that you're devalued,
Right.
I don't want that I don't, it's not that I don't want it in my entertainment. It's just I want it done in a way that makes me feel empowered in the end and not defeated in the end.
Exactly. And we are living people who are also happy and falling in love and crying at practical magic and whatever. And we are also very aware of how systems in place oppress us
Mhm.
and who does the oppressing. And it's
Mhm.
not that we like forget for 9 hours out of the day and we're just like, oh my goodness, it's so great. And I'm proud to be an American. No. It's like we always know, but shit, someone's got to get the kids to school. Someone has to find the cat when she's lost. Someone has to cut down the roses. And there's so much joy and beauty to the feminine side of love, and I think that Practical Magic does a really great job of showing that, like, there are women who are constantly told to not be powerful and that they're ostracized for being powerful and not even being powerful, but being powerful in a way that's very public, that as soon as the other women in the town involve themselves, they are like, "Yes, we've been waiting for you."
Yeah, and it become in that very inclusivity, right? Like, it's almost as if I choose to believe that after that scenario, and they do show us at the end
Mhm.
too, because it's showing the group, when people coming to the house and showing the aftermath being very positive. And I choose to believe that positivity continues, that they were able to change the trajectory of what they were known for,
Mhm.
and now accepted. And that's what a lot of movies from the 90s, I feel like, tend to do. Like, the end of Thelma and Louise is devastating, but you still walked out of that movie theater going, "Fuck yes, we are awesome,
Yeah.
and we got this,
And I
and
think
holy shit."
unfortunately, like, the way that we talk to one another about our differences has become so heated that now we can't be pretty about things.
Right, like, it's here's like, "Okay, okay, okay, you think you have it bad? Okay." And and there's this ability to do confirmation bias now. Like, we can find, rather than finding information to help us expand our thoughts and opinions, we're finding information that confirms our thoughts and opinions, and that's just bad. That's not you that's critical thinking is the answer, because
Mhm.
critical thinking teaches us to expand our opinions and learn from things. Whereas if I say, well, all white people are, I don't know, something horrific, and then I find an article that proves
I
it,
love
like,
I love that you can't ever insult people, and I'm like, "Hey, ladies, did you get your poison herbs to keep in your cabinet? Jimmies are everywhere, and this is your friendly reminder that we can poison them secretly in their
yeah,
tequila or whatever vice they got."
in their device of choice. I think I was raised by a cop, so, don't ever incriminate yourself. Um, but there is this element now where it does feel very much like, well, why won't you listen to me? Listen to
Yeah,
me. Oh my God, listen to me. And it's like, if we're all demanding to being listened to, then how can we actually hear what
right.
someone's trying to
And
say?
if we're always focusing on how everything has fucked us, where's the love and the joy that gets us through the day? I think that's what the
Mhm.
fucking pandemic taught us, where it's like, oh, if I literally don't say at least 3 times a day, at least I have a cat and she's the prettiest cat in the world. And I just go down the spiral where it's like the world is shut down, people are dying, groceries are hiking, like
Mhm.
all of that, then like, where is the compulsion to go on?
Right. Right. And I think people don't necessarily fully understand either the line between what's appropriating and icky and
Hmm.
what's just an appreciator I had the experience last night, which I will tell you about offline if you're interested.
Of course I'm interested. I love when my people do bad things.
Yeah. And
I
that's the
thrive
thing
on
where
it.
that's the thing where I'm like, there are because when you are in a community that is predominantly marginalized, you learn to pick up on things that are like dog whistle statements
Mhm.
and like certain things, or like coming from a religious background, there are certain turns of phrases that are very common in the type of religion I grew up in. And when I hear those things, I now know you're and this is terrible. But it's like, is it terrible or is it survival? Because it's like you just said a turn of phrase that I grew up hearing in the type of religion I grew up in, and now I know that you're a Christian. And I know what kind of Christian you are. And now
Yeah.
I'm very uncomfortable because that kind of Christian is the kind of Christian that made my life miserable for 16 years.
Well, and I can tell every time I do tarot publicly who's with it and who's pretending to be with it so the group doesn't make fun of them.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just know, even if I'm just looking at my cards and just focusing on the person who's reading, I know who's with me and I know who's sitting there going, Natalie is my friend, so it's fine that she's doing this devilry in my home in front of my friends.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's different survival
Yeah.
skills that you kind of adopt, and that's what the Owens had to do, and I think that's what Sally's so scared of, like, she's tired of having to do the defense.
It's
They
tiring.
both are, actually, that's why Jillian flees, she's like, "Fuck this shit, I wanna go where no one knows us."
It's true. It's tiring on all fronts. Like it's tiring to constantly have men in my DMs being like, "Would you like to hear how women have hurt me?" And I'm like, "No, go tell Joe Rogan." Like I
Yeah.
hear he's making a lot of money.
Yeah, on last week's episode of the show, my guest and I were talking about like the difference between when women behave in the patriarchy and when the patriarchy exists. For
Mhm.
women, it's a survival mechanism, so I can't really fault them. I mean, I can, but not to the same degree because they're trying to survive and they have to like this is just part of the metamorphosis and there's fear in breaking away from that to be strong. Whereas men just do it because that's all they've ever known and they don't think that there's anything wrong with it.
And there's also this idea that if you started small and if you started scared and whatever, the moment that you become powerful or rich or any of it, we turn our back to you. Like
Mm,
whatever, sell out. It's like
right.
I was just literally trying to collect the paper that everyone else is collecting.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
like to be comfortable too,
it
guys.
it happens
I'd
with
like to pay my student loans and eat dinner every
right.
day.
It happens all the time with my favorite people to stand up for the cast of Critical Role.
Mhm.
Critical Role in my mind, and you and I have talked about this, where it's like when small businesses make money and make money to the point where Amazon could like be like, oh, you're making money. They still get to be a small self-owned business because they're still doing it all on their own.
Right.
So like Critical Role has merch and like tours and ad space and they're fucking making money. Good for them. They have a cartoon now.
Yeah.
And like in my head, I'm like, my friends are making money. Thank God. It's all we've ever wanted because
Yeah.
now I know that my content will stay for free and I will get to enjoy them to the fullest in all of the
Mhm.
ways that I could be enjoying them. But but
Absolutely.
then the Reddit's like, I'm tired of us pretending that these people are just kind people making these videos out of the kindness of their heart. Why don't they deserve to get paid? I ask you, why do they not
Mhm.
deserve to get paid?
Yeah, because it takes a lot of work. There's so much that goes into it, and I love people when they say things like, "Well, I shouldn't have to pay you that much because I could do what you do." It's like, "Could you
Then
though?
do
Because there's a
it.
reason why you called me."
And everyone who started a D&D stream a la Matt Mercer's way to do it are hoping for that big $1,000,000
Mhm.
check.
Mhm.
So don't fault them for making money. Don't look at her shampoo bottle, Mr. Copman, and be like, "I've never paid this much for shampoo." Yeah, well, it's gonna stop you from going bald.
Yeah, which is what every man wants
Gonna
anyway,
quiet your male
because
fragility.
if I have to sit through one more hair commercial because a man felt bad about balding, but we
Yeah.
still don't have science and medical science behind menopause. you can go fuck
Or
yourself.
menstruation.
Or menstruation. New York Times is touting how little everybody knows about the clitoris. And I'm just like, I
Right.
can't take it anymore. Stop reminding us that the world doesn't give a shit about our health.
Is my birth control slowly poisoning me or not? Every podcast has a different set of articles.
Right, right. Okay, final thoughts of the night. What's your comfort level? Are you still comfy with this movie?
I'm in love with this
I
movie.
feel like the answer was so obvious considering you say it that you watch it every year.
I watch it every year. It literally will be. I know that I will have made it, and you all will know that I have made it. When I am literally living in whatever little fucking sea town that is, dressed like Stalker Channing, scaring children, but also making women like half-ass look at their husbands going, "Is he great?" No.
They're on an island, no?
They're on an island? Cool, I can't wait to be on an island.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to bounce between my seaside cliff in the Mediterranean when I wanna be Donna from Mamma Mia, and
Yeah.
then my little Cape Town. Because sometimes I like the idea, like, tropical ocean is great, but, like, have you ever been on a porch wrapped in a,
Yeah.
sweater waiting for your long lost love to come home from the
Yeah, the
sea?
Oregon coast is like that. It's very cold. It will go in the summer and it'll be 110 where I live and it'll be like 50 degrees at the
So I want
coast.
both, and when I have fuck it money, I will have both. And thank you, Practical Magic, for the Witch of Portobello for accidentally handing me a religion that I could go, no, I don't want to be a Christian anymore. They don't like me. I'm a lady.
Yes, yes. I agree. I'm also still comfy with this movie. Like I said earlier, I feel like you could take this exact film and drop it into 2022. You could release it this Friday
Mhm.
and it would not feel aged or dated in any way, shape, or form.
Including with all the women who are in it.
Correct. And it makes me sad that we still haven't made any progress in terms of reducing violence against women. With that said, you leave this movie feeling very empowered. And
Mhm.
that's all I want from a film sometimes.
Well, and I love a film that will remind us that, like, sisterhood and the power of feminine love is always the answer.
Yes. Yes, like, ladies,
You
they're gonna tell you that we need to be separate, that you
But
can't have female friends
it's
because
part of the
women are
patriarchy.
terrible.
Loving
But
women is and always will be the answer. Also, it might actually make you come a time or two.
the truth is out there.
The truth is out there.
Stop
No,
listening
no,
to the
no, no.
men telling us that
Right.
women are stupid.
Did you notice they didn't call that cop once to try and solve their problems?
Oh, not at all, not at all. I mean, Sandra Bullock did try to, like, convince
Level
Jillian that
with
they
them.
yeah, but, like, so then it's well, is it because of the spell you cast, when you were 10, Sally?
Right.
Or do you really wanna come clean? I think it's because of the spell you cast at 10, Sally. He received it. He was
Receive.
waiting for you. He
He
needs
also
you
wished for
too.
you. Right. I'm not saying don't fall in love and, like, don't get dick down if you wanna get dick down, but, like, also know where your bread and butter is, and it's not with the patriarchy, and it's not for men who pretend like they're not in the patriarchy because they've been nice to you 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah. With that said, tell everybody where they can find you.
My name is Natalie Katona. I'm the host of To All the Men I've Tolerated Before. Want to see more of me on the internet? There's no shortage. You could subscribe right now to Men I've Tolerated Pod on Instagram. I mean, I'm on Patreon. I have merch. I'm on Etsy at No Niche for Nat. If you want to buy some of my witchy shit, you know,
Yeah.
I'm everywhere.
Friends, if you want to keep up with us online, you can find me at the Julia Washington on both Instagram and TikTok. You can find Natalie at Natalie K124 or Men I've Tolerated Pod. If you enjoy the show, be sure to like and subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Still Comfy resumes Tuesday, September 5th on YouTube. If you want more of this, join our Patreon. For just $5 a month, you get a bonus episode every month, access to our back catalog, and entry to our studio audience social hour, where we sit and talk about all things pop culture. I'd love to see you there. Friends, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Until next time.